Hello, I'm Dr. Victoria Nichols-Johnson. So what made me decide to go into medicine? When I was a little girl, I had really severe asthma. And so I saw a lot of health professionals in my early life. Doctors, nurses, and many times I really understood how much they were involved in making sure that I survived to have a good life. Because of that, I decided about the age of 12 or 13 that I definitely wanted to go into medicine. At that time that you make your first decision, quite often you aren't really thinking about any particular specialty, especially when I was little, because most physicians were either general practitioners or surgeons. But as I progressed through school and read more about it, my first interest was really physical medicine and rehabilitation. I'm not sure why, but the fact that you could help someone get back to a fully functioning life was, or at least seemed, very gratifying. I did, throughout my schooling, I was often faced with the fact that, well, are you sure that's what you want to do? Women don't become physicians very often. So that was something I often heard, especially after I decided to go into a surgical specialty. That was really kind of frowned upon, especially by the older male physicians. But I think the thing that spurred me on was my parents, particularly, and many others in my family, because if that's what you want to do, then that's what you can work toward. And never gave me a discouraging word at all. I had I really didn't have any role models that were physicians, but I had plenty of role models who were people who were always striving to do their best or working toward another goal, one step up, another step up. And so my parents and my aunts and uncles were probably my strongest advocates and encouragers. When I got to high school, it was particularly interesting that I took my my class list of classes that I wanted to take, which were, of course, the college prep and science and so forth. um, because I didn't want anyone telling me what I couldn't do. And so it was, I took it upon myself with the help of my parents to set my own goals for what I wanted to do. And so I took chemistry, physics, math, which were subjects that I particularly liked. But of course I had to take English and history, and I was particularly interested in music, of course, and that is something that is very much a part of my life even today. When I graduated from high school, I went on to the University of Illinois at Urbana. And along the way, I did consider a few other vocational interests. I liked working with children. I even considered child development for a hot minute. But all in all, it came back around that I really wanted to become a physician. So I just kept on pushing that direction. It was interesting because I'm short, female. I was always people always thought I was one step behind where I actually was. When I was in college, people would see me and they'd still think I was in high school, and when I finished college and went to medical school, then people thought, well, I was still an undergrad in college. And when I got to my residency after I finished medical school, people thought I was still a medical student. And even when I was a young attending physician, people thought I was still in residency. It got a little annoying sometimes. But anyway, after I finished the University of Illinois, I went on to do medical school, and I graduated from the University of Michigan. I spent 2 years at Howard University first, but I had wanted to go to the University of Michigan almost all my life because one of my favorite uncles was, that was the school that he was, that he graduated from and got his master's and PhD there, and also he was, he lived there and was in the school systems there. So he was really a role model. After I graduated from the University of Michigan, I went on to Mayo Clinic for residency, and that's where I made the decision to go into OBGYN, obstetrics and gynecology. I'm not sure why I made that final decision, and but I do think it was a good decision all in all. I dealt with wonderful patients. I took care uh, of women and their babies, and that's one of the most trusting thing that people can let you do, is to take care of themselves and their babies, um, and I really feel that it was a great decision for me. One of the things that I did after I was in practice for a while is I went back to school, and I got a degree in administrative medicine. And one of the things that you're going to find throughout life is that you always have to keep learning about something. You know, physicians, of course, have to learn how they have to do what we call continuing medical education, because we have to keep up on the latest things and that are going on, and keep our knowledge fresh. But to actually go back and get another degree is really quite a feat, really, because you're working and you're going to school. Now, what would I advise a person going into a field such as those that we see in STEM? I think that you should be broad about your education, and not only for what you particularly choose to do as a career, but also throughout your life. It's important to know that you learn about things other than what you've chosen as your field. And you'll find that most people in STEM are interested in the arts. They might sing, they might play an instrument, they might enjoy concerts, they might do photography, they might do other kinds of visual arts, sculpturing. One of my colleagues was a bonsai fanatic, and he could grow the most wonderful bonsai trees. I've even had some colleagues that have made sort of a secondary living on their art, whatever it might be, like sculpturing or and so but it broadens. The broader your interest is, the more interesting person you are, and the better you are at your craft. The other thing I would say, that as you're going through school, find out what's best for you, and don't be discouraged if you hit a bump or two along the way. And people your role models don't necessarily have to be in your field, but they should be someone who is encouraging, who will help you strive to do your best. I also want to mention that there are other important things that will come along in your life, perhaps marriage, children, but these days, although they do make things difficult, sometimes it's much easier to fit into than when I first came along. When I decided to get married, one of my mother's friends told her, well, isn't it a shame that she is going to waste all that education? Well, of course, I didn't waste anything, and I had 3 beautiful children, and gained a wonderful stepson too along the way. So there are things that people will say to, as I said, to kind of discourage you, but if you've got your wits about you and gather people around you that are going to be encouraging, you'll be just fine. So I think it's great to have sessions like these where people can learn about getting ahead and working toward whatever they have found to be their interest. And I wish you a lot of success. I know I'm going to hear great things from the people about the people that are listening to this. So, thank you.